like and subscribe right now, or you're going to have bad luck for the rest of the week.
Ships are incredibly massive machines, and just taking them from a dry dock into the water is an implausible feat in and of itself, as it can take days of planning to launch the ship, and every once in a while these launches go horribly wrong. From cruises to giant cargo launch failures, here are 10 ships that didn't make it into the water unscratched. Number 10. Equipment failure. You would think that the management or bad luck must be at play for a bad ship launching moment, but that isn't always the case. Not all boats or ship launches can be blamed on the ship's construction. Sometimes it's the equipment that aids the vessel's launch that fails completely, just as in this video. The equipment, which is the long crane that is aiding the boat to be launched into the waters, collapses entirely, resulting the boat to capsize in the water. The crane can be seen going up the air and losing its balance as the ship falls down, badly caressing the dock. Maybe the management should have spent a little more money on a better crane company. At least the crane didn't fall into the water. That's a plus. Number 9. Crane truck deflection. This video is truly shocking. The launching pad for this vessel is atop a small plateau overlooking the water, aided by a crane truck instead of a tugboat and barges, which is a rookie mistake, as you have already seen disaster caused by a crane before. The launching seems to be going well, coordinated until a few meters remain for the vessel to touch the water's surface. It is then that the crane truck completely twists, unable to take the weight of the vessel, thus causing the boat to drop and overturn into the water. The scariest thing is that people are standing on the boat while it is being launched into the water. At least the boat is okay. Ugh, not really. Number 8. Cargo ship launch failure. Cargo ships are some of the most used and biggest ships in the world, as they are responsible for high levels of trade. Have you ever heard of a ship spilling oil in the sea and destroying the habitat? That's always the doings of a cargo ship. These gigantic creatures are made to last forever because they have to spend the whole time sailing the seas. If Whitebeard was alive today, he'd have a cargo ship for his pirate crew. But some cargo ships don't actually last forever, and some don't even get to sail once because of a launching incident, just like the one you are about to see. As the vessel comes out of the yard, everything seems to be going just fine for it. But then suddenly, in the presence of its proud creators and designers, the vessel starts to tilt to its starboard side as smoothly as it took to the waters from the shipping yard. What can be the reason for such a ship launch failure? Any guesses? Number 7. RMS Titanic. Titanic is the ship disaster that everyone knows about. At the time of its launch, the Titanic was the largest and most developed cruise ship in the world. Having been built in Ireland, engineers were so confident of the ship that they literally called it unsinkable. Kinda ironic, because it sank during its very first voyage on April 10th, 1912. The Titanic set sail from Southampton on its way to New York City on April 14th, 1912. Tragedy struck when the Titanic hit an iceberg while sailing in the North Atlantic Sea. It is estimated that 1,517 people lost their lives that day, making it one of the most devastating maritime disasters in modern history. After many unsuccessful expeditions and attempts to discover the Titanic wreckage, its location was finally discovered in 1985. Numerous artifacts and antiques were collected from the shipwreck, and most of them are now held at a display in the National Maritime Museum in England. Today, the wreckage of the RMS Titanic is under the protection of the 2001 UNESCO Convention. There have been numerous schemes put in place to raise the ship from its wreckage area, but the ship is in such a fragile condition that such plans have been abandoned altogether. Number 6. Accidental lifeboat launch. 2 crew members were injured after an accidental boat launch that happened on the tanker Chemtras Nova. The tanker was sitting off the coast of Virginia when the incident occurred. Members of the U.S. Coast Guard had to be called to rescue 2 engineers who'd been working inside of an enclosed lifeboat when it accidentally launched on its own, and both engineers went overboard with it. Luckily, the Coast Guard vessels quickly arrived and pulled one of the survivors out of the lifeboat before rescuing the other survivor, who was found floating in the water. The victim suffered minor injuries, including lacerations and a broken leg, but both did end up making a full full recovery. What's really crazy is that accidents involving lifeboats actually happen all the time in the maritime industry, especially during maintenance. Number 5. Cruise ship launch failure. Compared to a cargo ship, cruise ships are more delicate and much higher, which makes them more prone to damage. You must have heard the saying, the higher they are, the bigger they fall, or something like that. We're not experts in sayings. The makers of this Chinese vessel must have been hugely embarrassed before the various gathered guests at the launching ceremony. The vessel's position is risky, submerged in water at the back end. The people try to pull it from the front to balance the weight so it doesn't get completely submerged into the water, but the surface gets loose, and the ship directly goes inside the water. We wonder, how bad can the management be for such a ship launching disaster? Number 4. RMS Empress of Ireland. Ships having Ireland in their name have a bad history with disasters, and we will tell you why. Barely 2 years after the Titanic, another ship launch led to a disaster that everyone still remembers. Well, maybe not everyone, because a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio wasn't made about it, but many people know about it. On May 29, 1914, the Canadian ocean liner RMS Empress of Ireland sank while traveling the mouth of St. Lawrence River. The ship collided with the Norwegian collier SS Starsted as a result of thick fog, sinking and killing more than 1,012 people. Currently, the wreck of Empress Ireland lies in the shallows of the Lawrence River. The vessel was heading from Quebec City on its way to Liverpool. There have been many reports that divers have recovered brass bells, silver bars, and stern telemeters worth thousands of dollars from the ship. Number 3. 2 cranes, 1 ship. Is one crane not being able to take a shipload and handle it? We get it. But what about 2 huge cranes? They should definitely be able to take a shipload and perform a simple task of picking up the ship and launching it in the water. Well, not always. This is an ugly scene where 2 cranes are trying to launch one ship. Unfortunately, one of the cranes loses balance and the load goes on the other crane, and it loses control too. All that just leads to the crashing of the ship right into the water. What a dangerous ship launch failure that was. Number 2. Harness failure. It doesn't matter what size they are, ships are always expensive. A boat can cost from $100,000 to billions of dollars. If you don't believe us, just check out the value of a U.S. Marine cruiser. In this video, it's hard to figure out if they are trying to launch the boat or trying to put it on the ship's deck. However, the boat tethered to the winch cable holding it seems stable enough at first, but within a blink of an eye, the winches seem to lose their hold on the boat, which gets dropped off into the water quite abruptly. That's some $100,000 down the drain, or should we say sinking in the water. Number 1. MS Estonia disaster. When a ship launches for the first time successfully from its dock, you'd expect it to come back, right? But sadly, life isn't always that simple and straight. The Estonia ship casualty that took place in the Baltic Sea is one of the greatest maritime incidents in European history. The cruise ship MS Estonia was constructed by Meyer Werft in their German shipyard. Despite the trustworthiness in German engineering, everything that could go wrong did eventually go wrong on September 28, 1994. The ship was heading to Stockholm from the province of Tallinn when it sank unexpectedly. More than 800 horrified and helpless victims lost their lives that day, and many of the bodies of the dead were never removed from the Baltic Sea. To this date, the cause of the tragedy remains a mystery. However, there have been a lot of theories brought forth to try to rationalize the disaster. One of the most popular ones is that the ship came across terrible weather conditions, and the captain could barely navigate through them. Another rumor claims that rival countries planted bombs in the ship, and one theory also says that the ship came across something it wasn't supposed to, the Kraken. What do you guys think it was? Which one of these ship launches was your favorite? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.